The sleep wouldn't come, and I long kept tossing and turning in the bed with a book in hand until I finally passed out. All the interrogations and investigations into Kagome's past could wait for tomorrow. So, like, he didn't think to ask? He said she came back with a bag. Like, what's in the bag? Did we get an answer to that, or? Monday is always a difficult day. One of the first thoughts I had in the morning was about how long it'd take for Kyosuke to spread the word that he'd met Kagome at my place. And if only that was the only problem. Kyosuke seeing her grandfather meant the story would be painted in totally different colors by his telling. Completely Lovecraftian colors that had nothing to do with reality. Kyosuke's stories spreading was scarier than the chance that the actual truth might come out. Breakfast was already ready when I entered the kitchen, which buoyed my spirits somewhat. Good morning. Kagome sat at the table with her grandfather by her side. Another chair sat across from them. Against my will, this setup was leaving me the hot seat, like the accused in a courtroom.
Good morning, Nico-kun. Did you sleep well?
Pretty well, thank you. What about you? It's not easy to fall asleep in a new place.
Old people generally don't sleep well.
He smiled, and his expression was so full of humility that it made me feel a bit uncomfortable. He was supposed to be about the same age as Kobayashi Jun, although I only had a vague idea on how to tell the ages of people way older than me. Still, the head of Kobayashi Corporation both looked and acted with much more confidence. No offense to Moriyuki-san, but you could say that his life was at its nadir, while Kobayashi Jun gave the impression of a brisk old man still full of energy. How about you? Slept well? Asked Kagome, somewhat ironically. Well enough. She was drinking coffee, the smell of it bringing back memories that seemed like they didn't belong to me. The instructive tone of my mother, and the detached expression of my father's face, the monotonous hum of the television, and the noise of the vacuum cleaner. When did I last use a vacuum cleaner? I feel that. Casting these thoughts away, I focused on the food. Thank you. Everything was delicious. You are welcome. Kagome replied coldly. And now we need to go to school. Only then did I notice she was wearing her uniform. I see you saved what's most important from the fire. What do you mean? The uniform? Of course not. I bought a new one yesterday. Ah, that's what's in the bag. Ah, that's where he went. What did you think? Didn't think a thing. I snapped back and stood up. We walked out of the house together, but I stopped at the gate. Maybe it'd be better if we go to school separately? What, are you afraid we'll be seen together? I'm not, but... I sighed and closed my eyes for a while, as if hoping that the cruel outside world would turn into something else. Kyosuke must have told everyone already, so there may be all kinds of unbelievable rumors going around about us at school. For example? Well, for example... Of course, Kyosuke had a much more vivid imagination than I did. That you're pregnant, your grandfather's here to supervise our engagement. Kagome blushed, but then giggled. If only your Kyosuke knew my grandfather. He's the one who has to be supervised. But he doesn't, and what Kyosuke doesn't know, he tends to make up. Even if that's the case, I'm not too scared. Good for you. Truth be told, I had zero interest in catching weird looks and becoming the subject of gossip. I had more important things to deal with, and I didn't need the extra attention. So, do we have a deal? Kagome looked at me seriously. Nico-san, I understand what you mean, but I'm not going to toe the line, hide, or let them control my life. Hell yeah! Do you understand the concept of a reasonable compromise? We aren't towing any lines, we're just trying not to make the situation any worse. It's not like you can explain to every single person what's going on, right? Who says you have to? Or, I don't know, give a speech in front of the entire school from a podium like the principal would? Common sense, understand? Kagome was looking at me, her eyebrows slowly but steadily drawing together. If you don't want to go to school with me, you don't have to. You don't have to go to school at all. What do I care? She turned around abruptly and walked away. I managed to get what I wanted in the end, but I would have liked to do so a little more peacefully. After 5 minutes, I decided Kagome was far enough ahead of me. It was quiet in Hibitz's house. I wondered how she'd react when she found out I had another girl living with me. I walked to school slower than usual, changed my shoes, went up to the second floor. It seemed like nobody was looking at me with particular attention, but everything changed as soon as I entered the classroom. Kagome was sitting behind her desk, looking out the window, but if I was like someone who had set up an invisible wall separating my new roommate from the rest of the class. The guys reacted like they'd seen someone from the opposing team in their locker room, while the girls stared, whispering frantically. I walked to my desk and gave Kyosuke a sullen look. He was pretending not to notice me. Actually, I wasn't too angry at him. It's stupid to be angry with a nightingale for singing. That's just how the bird is. I was more annoyed by the need to put on an act, pretend. So I was living with a girl. So what? What's the big deal? And why was everyone so interested in other people's lives? I could have understood, but they weren't even my friends. Except maybe for... Michael approached me. Hi, Nick. I don't want to start this conversation, but it's better if you hear it from me. I'm listening. Prepared myself to learn what Kyosuke's creative genius had produced. People are saying you impregnated Uemura-san, got her kicked out of her house, now she's living with you. Maybe I shouldn't have underestimated my imagination after all. It was almost the story I told Kagome half an hour ago. Kyosuke? I asked in a dull voice. He didn't reply, just looked at me sympathetically. Kyosuke? I repeated. I don't know for sure. He swears he has nothing to do with it. In any case, Nick, you should know I don't believe it. You sound like Gollum trying to persuade Frodo and Sam they can trust him. Just tell me, how'd you find out about it? The entire class knows. I see. I grit my teeth and clenched my fists. I don't think it was Kyosuke, at least not deliberately. Thanks, I heard you. There were only several minutes left before class, not enough to have a serious conversation with Kyosuke. Somehow my initial goodwill toward him had disappeared without a trace. Maybe it was because the school would eventually find out about Kagome's new living condition. And even if not, I wouldn't feel guilty about that. But they'd only learn what the bare truth was, not wrapped in Kyosuke's bountiful imagination. I knew he could have spiced it up a little, sure, but this was beyond the pale. I barely managed to wait until the end of our first class. The entire time Kyosuke tried so desperately not to look in my direction that he probably deserved an award just for effort. Finally the bell rang and I dashed to his desk. Let's go talk, my dear friend. I grabbed Kyosuke by the back of his jacket and dragged him to the hallway.
Nick, I know what you're thinking, but it wasn't me.
He immediately started offering excuses. Good that you know. It'll save us some time.
I swear, I haven't told anybody that you and Uemura-san... Well, I mean...
What, me and Uemura-san?
I don't know, Nick. I saw you together, but that doesn't mean that you...
That we what?
Her house burnt down, and you just offered help. A roof over her head, so to say. Anyone in your place would...
Kyosuke tried to make excuses, but it was clear to see what he really thought about the whole situation. And could I blame him? If Kagome's restaurant had burnt down a month ago, would I have let her live at my place while she and her grandfather tried to figure out what to do next? I had to at least be honest with myself. It wasn't likely. But Kyosuke didn't know about the events of the last couple weeks. Most people in his position would have come to the wrong conclusion. Look, I know this seems strange from outside. I'm letting a classmate I'd barely talked to before live at my home. Her grandfather, too. But she has her own circumstances, and so do I. There's nothing between us. The last phrase felt like it had been said by someone else. And in any case, nobody gave you the right to gossip about it.
Nick, I swear I haven't told anyone.
Haven't told anyone probably means you only told a couple friends. Asked them to keep a secret, right?
Not telling anyone means not telling anybody. And when would I have had the time? Hasn't even been a day.
Rumors spread quickly.
Nick, I'm serious.
Kyosuke was speaking so confidently I even doubted myself for a moment. Could anyone else have seen us? Couldn't exclude the possibility, but it was hard to imagine any of my classmates spying on me on a Sunday. Ellie. Okay, so who could it be then? You said it yourself. It hasn't even been a day.
Nick, I swear I don't know.
Suddenly his face brightened up.
What about Himitsu-chan? Have you asked her?
Himitsu, I said automatically, the name echoing disturbingly in my mind. Himitsu can keep her mouth shut, unlike some people. She hasn't even seen... Even if she had, she talked to me first. No, I couldn't imagine Himitsu spreading the rumor. Still, our relationship was far from perfect lately. Human perception is so strange. I never thought Himitsu was a bad person, but here I was ready to attribute her with something she'd never do. It's not Himitsu.
And not me.
He was sticking to his guns, and I had no idea what to do next. Kyosuke didn't have a particularly strong backbone, sure, but if he was sure about something, he wouldn't back down. But his visit yesterday and his encounter with Kagome and her grandfather, could it just be a coincidence? No, I believe the homie. I believe the homie. But if it were you, you would have told me, right?
Of course, Nick.
His expression was so genuine, I even felt ashamed for being suspicious of him. Then who could it be? I bet there's someone watching my house 24/7. Except probably for the KGB and Kobayashi Corporation. But I couldn't imagine organizations like that spreading rumors at my school. And the pregnancy? I added in a softer voice. It's not just someone saying that they saw Uemura at my place.
Maybe someone wanted to hurt you.
Perhaps he was right. And if I thought about who I could consider my enemies... Just then Kagome appeared from around the corner, walking straight for us. There you are. She immediately jumped on Kyosuke. Mind telling me if I look pregnant? Kagome, wait. I tried to stand up for my friend as I wasn't so sure about his guilt anymore. Niko-san, I can handle this myself. She cut me off once again, showing her unwavering tenacity capable to tear down anything and everything on the way to her goal. So answer me, what the hell were you thinking? Kyosuke was a sorry sight.
Uemura-san, I've already explained to Nick that it wasn't me. It was pure coincidence that we met at his place. I haven't told anyone a word about it, I swear.
Just a coincidence, you say? How convenient.
Uemura-san.
I don't believe in coincidences.
God, what else am I supposed to do to get you two to believe me?
He looked away from her and to me, looking for support. I really think that... Kagome didn't even look at me. And you call yourself Niko-san's friend? You're ready to sell anyone for your 15 minutes of fame. Even if Kyosuke actually was at fault here, he hadn't done it out of malice. Wait, just hold your horses. And you, Niko-san? You're perfectly happy to let anyone walk all over you? No wonder you nurse such a snake on your chest. Kagome, enough. You're taking it too far. And you, know that I won't leave it like this. She kept attacking Kyosuke. Kagome was panting, but seemingly couldn't come up with a realistic enough threat. In the end, she scoffed, turned around, and all but ran in the direction of our classroom.
Nick, what did she mean?
Kyosuke looked genuinely scared. She's going to ambush you after school and stab you in the back with a knife. On the other hand, if Kagome really is pregnant, she wouldn't risk the child. Then she'll send her grandfather after you instead, and he's a black belt in karate. Don't be deceived by his feeble appearance.
So, you're joking, right?
What do you think? I asked wearily.
Uemura-san can be very persuasive when she wants to be.
That she can. This word made my heart respond with a warm feeling, as if it was someone close to me being praised. Exactly, that's exactly how I'm feeling. Like, hell yeah, she can.
So she really won't do anything to me?
He kept worrying. Calm down, she won't. I'll see to it. But we still don't know who's spreading these rumors and why.
Someone must benefit from it.
Benefit from it. I returned to the thought that had been interrupted by Kagome's appearance. If I had to name the people in this school I could call enemies, they'd be Asakura, Kawashima, and the rest of her gang. Asakura?
She hasn't been at school this morning.
That means nothing.
I guess.
I wanted to ask something else, but the bell rang. Asakura wasn't there by the second period either. Of course, in itself, this wasn't any more unusual than my constant truancy. She could have spread the rumor yesterday over the phone. I was sure she had enough connections at school to do so. But I couldn't just sit and do nothing. If it wasn't Asakura, then If it wasn't Asakura, that must have been Kawashima. Naturally, I couldn't just run into their classroom and start accusing her. But I could talk to Ellie. No. God damn it. Also, I was like, yo, Ellie would be the only other one that knows. And that's how it happened. She would say something. She would say some offhand remark about it to Asakura and Kawashima. And then those two would blow it way out of proportion. That I could actually see happening. Like with the whole accusing her of, burying someone's body in a forest. Like, she never said that, but of course, Kawashima's gonna, spice up the truth a bit. I barely waited for the break and hurried to the old music room. I hoped Ellie didn't believe the rumors. Actually, even though yesterday's conversation hadn't ended well, I'd still managed to explain everything to her. It was quiet in the old wing. I hesitated at the classroom's door for a moment, but then got it together and pulled on the handle. Fortunately, Ellie hadn't changed her pattern and was there today too. She was just sitting by the piano looking out the window. Hello? He greeted her politely. I thought you wouldn't come. She replied phlegmatically. Sorry for yesterday. And then I stopped myself. Although, I have nothing to apologize for. I haven't done anything wrong. Yes, you're right. The sadness in her voice sounded unusual. I still need to talk to you. Ellie, you've probably already heard what they're saying about Uemura and I. I have. And hopefully you don't believe it. Uemura-san didn't look pregnant yesterday. She smiled, but it was like she was a defendant in court who, despite long fighting to overturn her conviction, finally realized how powerless she was to change it. I wanted to joke about Kagome's pregnancy being in its early stages, but changed my mind at the last moment. I'm glad, but I'd really like to know who's spreading these rumors. Ellie apparently took my question for a rhetorical one, so I wanted to ask you. Maybe Kawashima said something? You think it's Marie? Or well, was it Marie? I keep saying Marie, but it's probably like Marie, because they're all Japanese. She asked this very calmly, and expected this reaction. Well, considering her relationship with Iwamura, let's be honest, I've also had some disagreements with her. I don't know, Nick. Everyone was talking about it. Marie as well. But I have no idea who started it. I see. I drawled, moved a bit closer to the piano, but suddenly felt like I was crossing an invisible line and returned to the door. What are you so worried about? You and Mura-san love each other. What do you care about other people's opinions? Love? I exclaimed. There's nothing between us. Things just turned out like this, that's all. Right, you let a perfect stranger live with you. There's nothing to be ashamed of, Nick. I'm not ashamed of anything. But the thought that Kagome and I could be in a relationship actually made me uncomfortable. And the feeling was nothing like the one you'd have when being pushed to get together with the ugliest girl in class. If there was something between us, I would have told you. A light of hope seemed to glimmer in Ellie's eyes for a moment, and then went out. I just couldn't say no to her. After everything that happened, her father went missing, her house burned down, and it was also their only source of income. All their money went up in the fire too. Yes, we have something in common, I won't deny that, but love? Ellie, you got it all wrong. You're explaining yourself like I'm accusing you of a crime. Guess I really was trying too hard to justify myself. But to persuade someone else of something, you have to convince yourself of it first. Wasn't that exactly what I was doing? I have nothing more to say. I totally forgot that I wanted to talk to her about Kawashima. But seeing that Ellie knew nothing more than what she told me, I understand that you're no longer interested in playing bass. Ah, right, about that. Naturally, I hadn't been thinking about that at all. It's just not the best time right now. I'll think about when everything is sorted out. No need. No need for what? Music isn't something you should be forced to do. Yeah, but I feel like a lazy student afraid of dropping out only because his parents spent a lot of money and effort to get him going into university. I understand, Nick. No worries. I'm not upset. Iwamura-san is more important to you now. True. Only then did I notice that Ellie was constantly calling Kagome Iwamura-san. She never referred to her so politely when talking alone with me before. That is true, actually. I'm telling you, I get it. She interrupted me, steely notes in her voice. Well, since she got it, what was the point in arguing? Well, fine. I really doubt that I can help you two with finding Iwamura-san's father. Feel free to turn to me if you need help. Ellie stood up and walked past me. I could see both sadness and determination on her face, as she made an important but very hard decision. Thank you. I said to no one when I was left alone. Wasn't expecting that turn of events, honestly. I'm gonna keep it a buck. Perhaps somewhere deep inside I could guess what Ellie felt. Same way you can sometimes guess that the next card will be an ace. Except that with the hand that I had at the moment, ace would be too much. Didn't want to think about it. With the hand I had at the moment, ace would be too much? Like, too much, that makes it sound like you're playing blackjack. You know, you're trying to... Too much would mean you would bust. But if an ace is too much, that means you already got a blackjack, my guy. An ace would be too much. Well, okay, it depends. It depends if it's going both ways. If it's 1 or 11. Because, yeah, no, if you're playing some rule set where it's only an 11, then yeah, no, if you're sitting at a 12, you're going to want to be like, no, you keep that ace to yourself. But in typical blackjack, that's 11 or 1. So, like, the only time an ace should be too much is when you've already hit 21 and you've won. So you must be talking about a much different card game. Seemed like our acquaintance would end here, and that would be better for everybody. She really couldn't help with finding Kagome's father, but she was capable, even if unintentionally, of making the situation worse. I looked at Asikota's empty desk. If they managed to get away with everything up to this point, spreading a rumor would barely warrant mentioning. That was for sure. Anyway, if Kagome and her grandfather left for Hokkaido, this incident would quickly be forgotten. Teenagers yearn for new experiences and have trouble with consistency. The thought that I'd never see Kagome again made me feel uncomfortable, as if I were losing a close friend or... In the end, I wanted to get to the truth too, and learn the real reason for my parents' deaths. I was going to talk to Kagome during the next break, but our inescapable English teacher took her away immediately. Michael approached me. Nick, do you have plans after school? Not any I can think of. Is there something you wanted to do? Do you want to walk home together? We've got something to talk about. Should take 15 minutes or so. Okay. Once classes were over, we left school and casually headed for my house. Michael was quiet, as if he'd forgotten that he meant to have a conversation with me. Well, I'm all ears. Nick, have you found out who was spreading rumors about you and Iwamura-san? No, I'm still on it. So you have suspects? Asakura, Kawashima, who else would be interested in doing this? And do you have any evidence? Even if I did, what of it? You can't put a person behind bars for being an asshole in Japan. But you don't think it's Kyosuke's fault anymore? I guess not. I don't know. The lard ass has a big mouth and all, but pregnancy? When would we have time for that? Just yesterday I had no idea what Iwamura's first name was. But now you do. From anyone else, I would have taken that as a taunt, but Michael's face bore his usual ambiguous expression of both concentration and thoughtful detachment. Do you also think there's something between us? Is that the case? No, it's not. I sighed, too weary to even get angry. The restaurant she lived in burned it to the ground. She has to stay at my place for a time. I agreed. That's it. I see. At least he wasn't going to interrogate me. And that's what you wanted to talk to me about? Not just that. I wanted to inform you that I've asked Catherine out. Inform? I smirked, but his information echoed with dull pain somewhere inside. And did she say... She agreed. Well, you aren't going to get any congratulations from me, but let's say I'm happy for you. Nick, I just wanted you to know that you did your best to make it right. Sure, I get it. My blatant sarcasm rang in the air. I didn't mean anything like that. Sure thing. Michael's latest attempt to make himself seem like an honest friend didn't make me as wildly indignant as the last one. What was the point in berating a person when they don't understand what they're doing wrong? Was I really one to judge wrong from right? Alright, I don't want to discuss Catherine. I'm just too preoccupied for that. You see what's going on around me, right? Michael stopped and offered his hand. Take care, Nick. You too. That's a weird way to end that. To walk away from it all. Just like, take care. Like, what the fuck do you mean by that, Michael? I've always just kind of like, haven't really thought much of Michael. I don't like where you're going with that. Michael, did you spread rumors? Take care, bud. Was it Catherine? Are y'all plotting on me? Y'all plotting on me? I responded hesitantly. And yet, this conversation woke up feelings I really could live without at the moment. I wondered how Catherine would react to the rumor that I'd gotten Kagome pregnant. I hadn't looked at Katya once the entire day. Seemed to have even forgotten she existed. Exactly. She's like never in your thoughts anymore, but the moment her name comes up, you act like someone fucking insulted you. What the fuck does she matter anymore? Oh, your ex-lover came back. Guess what? You never fucking think about her. So who fucking cares? That's the one part that irritates me about all of this. Like, if I were going down Catherine's route, that'd be a different story, alright? But, like, I'm not. At what point do you just realize that he's just, like, he's had some moments here and there where he's kind of admitted it, where he's, like, at one point where he's like, yeah, and I just wish Catherine would fuck off to the US. That'd make life easier. And then he's like, wait, did I just say life would be easier if Catherine left? And it's like, yes, get into that pocket. That's the pocket you need to be in. Because, like, you had the moment where she came by and confessed that she was the one who wrote the note and all that. But, like, other than that, we've hardly had any interaction with the woman. Any at all. She's never in your thought. She's never in your fucking thoughts, my guy. She's never up in the dome. After I started, making Kagome-centric choices, like, you've never once had her pop up in here, like, what's Catherine up to? What's Catherine up to? It's been, no, we're focused on what we're doing here. We're doing this, we're doing this. And now every time someone mentions her name, he acts like, oh my god, not Catherine. What fucking reason? What fucking reason at this point do you not just realize, oh wow, I really don't have those feelings anymore? Because you gotta realize you don't. I mean, he kind of did realize that. But I fucking hate the way he reacts to it. I fucking hate the way he reacts to it. It's always just like,
Oh, God, no. Catherine.
stop. Just fucking stop. It's so blatantly obvious that y'all don't care about each other, that there's nothing between you anymore. Nothing more is gonna happen. Let it go. In fact, it seems like you're ready to let it go, but for some reason, every time just it's like fucking Superman mentioning Martha in fucking Batman vs. Superman. For some reason, it's just like,
Catherine. Why did you say that name? Why did you say that name?
like, bro. Like, honestly, this shit's getting on my nerves so much at this point. At first, it was just like, yeah, I laughed it off. Man, fuck Catherine. Stop thinking about her, ha ha ha. But now it's just like, for the love of God. She has played like zero part in the route specifically. Like, yeah, she plays the part and like she wrote the letter, okay? That's gonna be true in every route, I'm sure. But, homie, other than that, there's been zero interaction. There's been zero interaction. There's hardly been any mention of her, but for some reason, whenever there is mention of her, this motherfucker hulks out over it. Like, it's so fucking irritating. Kagome occupied not only my house, but also my thoughts, as she should. She made her problems mine and forced me to look at things from new angles, hell yeah. Including things that seemed unshakable to me. Of course, it was clear that Catherine wouldn't believe such nonsense, but there's no smoke without fire. We wouldn't spread rumors if there wasn't any substance to them at all. I really had been spending a lot of time with Kagome lately. That much would be hard not to notice. But should I even worry about Catherine's opinion? Exactly! Should you? And the answer is no. The answer is fuck no. The answer is you shouldn't worry about Catherine, period. It's not like I expected us to ever get together again, right? Right! So stop giving a shit! Things we no longer need are hard to throw away because we've become too attached to them and feel like we'd lose something important by throwing them into the garbage. I mean, I kinda get that. Like, when you say it, when you finally admit it's over, you're throwing away the chance of ever having that again. I get it. I get it. But at the same time, you've got to realize that, like, it's just really not, that chance isn't there anymore. So just let it go. If I let it go, I'll lose the chance. No, you've already lost the chance. So it's time to let it go, homie. I like to think they can still be used somehow. Come up with absurd uses for an old pan or a broken pair of scissors. The irony is we totally forget their existence a minute or two after finally throwing them away. Exactly. Of course, I didn't want to compare my feelings for Catherine to an old pan, but in a sense the analogy was appropriate.